Hello guys, today I'll be reviewing Death Magnetic by Metallica. Now, as you've noticed, I'm trying out a different setting. Of course, my setting has nothing to do with the album, of course, but anyways, the album, it was produced by Rick Rubin, and many people have problems with the production of this album, and understandably so. It's often cited as being overly compressed and of course, too loud, and I definitely agree with those two things 100%, because now it's not the worst production they've had, maybe one of the worst, but not as bad as, of course, Saint Anger. But with this album, it's also considered a kind of a return to form for them, because it was coming off of course, Saint Anger and Reload and Load, because those three albums were fairly different for the band, so many people were excited that they were returning closer to their original sound of the first 4 or 5 albums. But yeah, overall I like the album, but it's never been one of my personal favorites. But also, I do of course have the Beyond Magnetic EP, but I'm probably not going to review that because it's an EP and I just want to focus on just reviewing the main albums. But I do have it on CD though. But I also have these here, Past Magnetic and a Demo Magnetic, which are pretty cool to own. I got them off of eBay, and I believe these were the last ones, at least at the time of when I purchased these. But yeah, definitely cool to own again. But anyways, let's go ahead and dive into the album. The album starts off with "That Was Just Your Life," which I think is one of the highlights on the album. Starts off fairly kind of atmospheric and dark for like the first 40 seconds or so, before getting into some stompy drums and some heavy riffs, eventually leading into a more faster or more upbeat tempo, eventually leading into the first verse. And yeah, again, I think it's one of the highlights on the album, and overall I think it's a pretty enjoyable track. But then we get to the song "The End of the Line," which has never been one of my personal favorites, to be honest. Not a bad song, has some decent riffs on it here and there, such as in the verses, but it's never been a song that's really gripped me as much as other songs on the album. But then we get to the song "Broken Beat and Scarred," and this song lyrically deals with surviving through struggle, perseverance, and themes like that. One of the more hookier songs of the album, one of the more catchy, one of the more hooky songs in general. And overall, it's a pretty catchy song. Now, when I was a newer fan of Metallica, this was one of my personal favorites on the album, but nowadays it's not really one of my personal favorites, but I still do like it though. But then we get to the lead-off single, "The Day That Never Comes," kind of a ballad, and I like the clean guitar in this song, such as in the intro and in the verses. But then you have the chorus where the guitars get a bit more beefy and heavy, and James overall sounds pretty solid in the song. One of the better vocal performances on the album from him in the song. But yeah, I think it's another highlight on the album, and I also think the solo work is pretty solid from Kirk Hammett. Not his best, but not his worst either. But again, overall pretty solid in this song. But yeah, overall I think it's a pretty good song and not a bad choice for a single. But then we get to the song "All Nightmare Long," which is maybe my favorite of the singles. I really like this one. It's definitely another highlight on the album for me personally. Bit of a heavier track, and I do somewhat kind of remember the music video. I know there was some animation in there, some clips that were maybe black and white, unless I'm thinking of a different video. But yeah, I like the heavy nature of this track, and I think the chorus is pretty catchy and memorable, and overall a pretty dang good song, and definitely, again, one of the highlights on the album. Then we get to the song "Cyanide." Now, when I was a newer fan, this song was actually one of my favorites on the album, but as time has gone on, it's grown to be one of my least favorites on the album. I mean, I still do like the song. It has some riffs that I do like in general from the song, but I don't know, just doesn't grip me as much as other songs on the album for me nowadays. And also, not their strongest lyrically, but not their worst either. If you want to look for their worst lyrics, go to Saint Anger. But yeah, lyrically, one of the weaker songs on the album, but it's an okay song. I'll just leave it at that. But then we get to "The Unforgiven 3," and this is a bit of a more personal song. I know it's a personal song for James. And I'm going to be honest, this song, it's my least favorite of the Unforgiven songs. To me, it's just not as memorable as Unforgiven 2 and, of course, the original. Just not as gripping, just not as, I guess, hooky or catchy in general. But it has some interesting things going for it. I do like the piano towards the beginning of the track, and it has some decent melody here and there, but I don't know. I don't really have much to say about this one because, again, the memorable aspect of the song just isn't very strong, at least in my opinion. But again, not a bad song, but yeah, it's always been closer to the bottom for me in terms of how I'd rank the songs. But next we have the song Judas Kiss, and this is maybe my favorite song on the album. The rhythm work, while maybe not the most complex rhythm work in the world, I thought it's one of the aspects or one of the elements of the song that really pulls you into the song in general, at least me. And I really like the chorus, maybe one of my favorite choruses on the album. It's catchy and memorable, and I think it's actually, the song has some of James's better vocal performances on the album. But yeah, kind of an underrated song. I don't think it was one of the singles, and yeah, I'd say it's a song that I think deserves a bit more attention. Sure, it's a bit of a longer song, but I think the song does enough to keep you interested and engaged in the song in general. But yeah, overall, I really dig this song. I really like the riffs. I really like the rhythm work. And James, in general, I think sounds pretty good in this song. But then we get to the song Suicide and Redemption, which is an instrumental, a bit more on the lengthy side, of course. And that's another common issue that I have with this album. And of course, and same with Hardwired and Saint Anger and even Load and Reload. It's just that there are some songs that are just way too long, or the albums in general just feel a bit too long at times, and this album again is no exception. But yeah, the album does need some trimming. This song is one of the songs on the album to me that I think would benefit from some trimming, because some songs, in my opinion, do overstay their welcome, such as with this song, and probably, yeah, I'd probably throw Unforgiven 3 in there, and probably End of the Line also. But Suicide and Redemption, this is an instrumental that's actually grown on me a little bit. Now, it's not my favorite instrumental from the band, but I'd overall think it's better than some might remember, I guess you could say. But I like some of the rhythm work. I'm not going to try to mimic it, but yeah, overall, not a bad instrumental, at least in my opinion. But then we get to the album closer, My Apocalypse. And this is one of the more thrashy, one of the more heavier tracks on the album. Also the shortest song on the album. It's 5 minutes and 1 second, if I remember correctly. And here's the thing, this song might also have some of James's worst vocals on the album. Like, such as the moment where he says, "Suffer unto my apocalypse." I don't know, it's just, it ain't it. It's just, they're vocally not his best on the album, but I wouldn't say that his vocal performance on this song ruins the song in general. I mean, it's a song that I can still get through in general, and I do like the heavy / upbeat nature of the track in general, though. So at least that song has that going for it. But yeah, My Apocalypse, overall, a decent way to close off the album. At least they're ending the album with a bang. But anyways, if I had to rate this album, I'd maybe go for maybe a 7.8. I'm kind of on the fence about whether I'd give it an 8 or not, so I might go with a 7.8. I do like the album more than Load, Reload, and Saint Anger, at least as of now, but it definitely comes nowhere near their first 5 albums, for sure. And I'm sure many people would agree with that, but yeah, for now, I think I'll probably go with a 7.8 out of 10. And of course, my score can change at any time. But anyways, let me know your thoughts on the album. Do you love it? Do you hate it? How's it compare to their other albums for you personally? And all that good stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching. Please comment and like, subscribe. Have a nice day, and take care.